Former Mayor Coleman Young's famous remark made it his 1974 inaugural, telling criminals to, quote, hit 8 Mile Road, unquote, may have been misinterpreted by some whites as a signal to leave the city.
I think it has something to do with the myth about black people, unfit, can't take care of their communities, let them run down, fear of property values decreasing. Because as you know, when Coleman Young got elected, the racial makeup in the city of Detroit was about 50-50. And as soon as he was elected, the population in terms of the white community began to decline. Whites moved to the suburbs.
Wayne County lost more people than any other county in the nation between 1980 and 1992, over 200,000. It became one of the most segregated areas of the country.
Statistically, there are people who claim to prove that this is the most segregated city in the U.S. Those are relatively impressionistic categories, but let's say it's true that Detroit is the most segregated. The question then is why? There are several explanations I've heard. One of them is that Detroit's the city with the highest percentage of private home ownership of any big city in the U.S., which means people are used to living in a house of their own. They're also used to a high degree of mobility, and have been ever since the 1920s, which means, I think, that if people want to move, they can move. They feel like moving is a good idea, because moving is what built the city. Another explanation I've heard is that Detroit has historically been a city of neighborhoods, enclaves, so that if somebody invades your enclave, you want a house of your own with people like you, and you don't mind moving. What that translates to is that anything happens you don't like, you get up and walk away from it. Unlike a city like Chicago, New York, even San Francisco, Cleveland, where there's a long history of vertical population, people living in high-rise buildings and having to get along. In Detroit, people seem to have been in a situation where they could just get the hell out if they didn't like what they saw.